Hi, guys, welcome back to the Woman Up podcast with me, your host, Lauren, and
Charl, hi.
hello. Do you know what? This is like, we've decided we're just going to hit record and go straight in. We've done no greetings or saying hi or catching up or anything. We're just going to go straight in on this one.
Yes, and just kind of observations in the last 10 minutes. I don't know what you, this is nothing to do with women, could be to do with women's health. I don't know what you guys do with your heating, but we have a thermostat on our boiler. So it only comes on for what, like 10 minutes. It keeps the house at the same temperature all the time. I'm at my mum and dad's. They don't have that. And holy shit, it's just made me so much more appreciative because I've walked in, it's absolutely Baltic. And I'm like, my brain cannot function. So I'm like, coat on, cup of tea. So yeah, if we're going to smash the patriarchy, I need to stay warm.
You need to warm up, honey. You need to warm up. I've just realised, so we get this like rank smell in our kitchen, and I've just realised that it's come through into the outdoor office as well. Like it's just this eggy, cabbagey, disgustingy smell that comes and goes, and then we think, right, we'll deal with it, and then it goes for a bit. We're like, oh, we'll forget about it. It's fine, and then it comes back, and I'm like, no, this smell has got to go. And now it's seeped into my office. I'm like, got to go.
That sounds like it's a pipe issue. I remember when I was in a flat, I had a flat once that was like that. Um, and yeah, it was not a good time.
And no, it's not a good time. But anyway, how was your march on Saturday?
Um, so good. Obviously, we've chatted a little bit about this. First thing, like guys, like I fucked up the timing, which I was initially really annoyed with myself about. I was on my way over, thinking, right, gonna go onto their page, see kind of where they're at. Good job I did because it said on the page starts at 12, and I'm there at like half one, thinking it said two. So first of all, I was annoyed with myself, but quite fortunate the fact that there were a lot of speeches and things first, so I was able to actually then catch the march, which was good. So it was good. They Before I got there, they had the um, what's her official title? The like crime commissioner for
Yeah.
Merseyside Police. She did a speech which I think is quite significant because obviously she actually spoke about how women's solidarity is more important than ever right now. Obviously, like as a green flag for the kind of marches, and she kind of spoke about how committed she is to making change for violence against women in Merseyside, because Merseyside, for those of you that don't know, has just been voted as having like the worst crime rates for violence against women in the country. So yeah, that was good to kind of for everyone to hear from her, and the turnout was really good. To be fair,
Do you know
turnout
how
was really
many?
nice. I've not seen any official figures. Good few hundred. Obviously, you said that you thought it was like 500, didn't you, for Leeds? But it ends up being like double the amount.
Yeah, like I was kind of just guessing because it's hard to know for sure. But I was telling people,
Mm.
yeah, like about 500. But then I saw them say over 1,000 of you turned out. But so I don't know, somewhere between 500, a
Yeah.
thousand, just a
It
lot.
it was. You know what? It was more people than I expected. Like when we were waiting on the platform, so Dougie came with me, and we were kind of like, we don't know what to expect. You know, you just kind of like, I don't really know, like what I've never kind of done anything like that before. And when they started, so we caught them just after they'd started, and we were really like positively surprised. We were like, holy shit, there's like a lot of people here, which was really nice. And there was no like, I was looking around, we were talking, we were saying there's no, which is exactly the issue again, because people think, oh, this only affects this type of person or this type of person. There was no type of person at that march. It was women of all ages. There were little girls there. There were really older ladies there. There were white people. There were people of color. There were like people from all different backgrounds. There was women. There was men. Like it was really nice to see like a proper like cross section of society all standing up for these things, and there was a lot of men there, which was really nice as well, because as we've spoken about repeatedly, like this isn't just an issue that affects women, it affects men indirectly, but we can knock at the door as much as we want. We need people on the inside to be allies to us, so that was really nice to see as well.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. Like complete mixed bag of people and quite a few wheelchair users as well. And like with the lead up to the Leeds March, they did a lot of talking about how accessible it was going to be and the route that people could take and where people in wheelchairs could sit and they just really made it wheelchair friendly and accessible to everybody. Um, and it was, yeah, we got into Leeds and we were like, there could be about 12 people here. Like, we had no idea what to expect. So while we were tracking down a coffee shop for me, we turned the corner to where Leeds Art Gallery was, and we were like, oh shit, there's like already a couple hundred people there, and there's like 15 minutes left to go. And we were like, okay, good. Like, and once you start getting going and the chants start, you hope that people are going to get behind it and start chanting. And about 20 minutes in to about an hour long march, everybody was, because you start learning the words to it, you build your confidence, and then everyone's just belting it out. We had loads of people on mics, we had like drums. It was, yeah, it was good. We had a lot of people stop and watch in the streets as well, taking pictures, taking videos. All the buses were honking the horns, well, most of them. And overall, like, just a really, really positive day. There was no backlash that I saw. There was no fights. There was nothing. It was just a peaceful protest, and it was good, you know?
Yeah, the majority of like that was, sorry, the majority for us was like that. Um, we did have a few people like honking. There were a lot of people stopping and watching, and definitely when it went through, like we've got like in Liverpool, for anyone who's familiar with Liverpool, Liverpool One, it's like an open air shopping centre with like tiers. So as it was going through there, like each tier, like people were just lining it and watching and just stopping to acknowledge, which was nice. But there was a little bit of pushback as well, which, do you know what? Do you know when you've just got a gut feeling? Like when we were on our way over, and I said to Dougie, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I'm a bit nervous because I've never been in this environment, but it just feels, or maybe it just felt like a little bit vulnerable. I just had a weird feeling. So the majority was really positive, but we did get a little bit of pushback. Yeah, so we got there, and the first thing actually I saw before I caught up with the march was a group of pro-life protesters. They'd obviously just gotten wind that the march was happening that day, which, we have the right to protest. People have the right to stand up for what they believe in. But they were using some really awful imagery. So you've probably all come across this before or know of it. Like there's certain groups that will use like fake images of fetuses that have been quote unquote aborted, but they were blown up into like 5-foot images just in the middle of the street on the busiest street in Liverpool, on Church Street. So there was already a bit of a small gathering of people opposing them, who actually were Palestine protesters, but just decided to just jump on it because they didn't think it was okay. So fair play to those girls. And yeah, so obviously I've not been kind of quiet about this. Like it's something I'm willing to talk about, but I have had a termination in the past, and I'm very at peace with my decision. But that literally, I instantly just, my eyes filled up. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I think that's what they go for, is the shock tactic. They think that it's like, oh, people don't realise, am I going to shock them? Like, people are aware. I think what got me upset was not the images. Like, we're all adults, when we make those decisions. It was the fact that people were standing there with the sole intention of guilting and shaming women for their decisions. And I was their target audience, like, was to vilify women like me. And I just thought, that is awful. Like, how are you allowed to do that? Like, there's one thing, because obviously Dougie was with me and we were talking about it, and he was saying, if they were standing there with a little table and a stand saying, come and talk to us about pro-life, right? Cool. Like, you can stand there and you have your opinion, your right to say that. But that's a line for me, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And yeah, it just made me super emotional. And I just want to shout out to the girl who was actually a Palestine protester, who instantly just put her arms around me and was like, it's okay, like it's disgusting what they're doing, like, it's all right. And I was just like, oh. So that kind of almost put the fire in my belly then, because like then actually, weirdly, the march started approaching. So I was like, let's fucking go.
Right.
I was like, let's fucking go. And I just ended up...
Like, what are they trying to achieve with that method of that shaming and guilt tripping? Like, what are they hoping to achieve? Because either there's going to be women there like yourself who you say, like, what is that going to achieve other than make me feel like shit, which is your intention, what good is that going to do? Or they're going to say, well, it might shock a woman into not having an abortion. I'm like, okay, well, even if it did do that, you're guilting and shaming into someone to making life-changing choices, and no decision should be made out of guilt and shame. It's
No.
awful. you sent me those pictures, and it shocked me. I've not seen images like that blown up like that, and it was just a bit like, oh my God, like you don't want to see that, fake or not. It's just like you can't
And there
look
were,
away. See
there
it.
were women going past that like were had kids with them, and they were really angry. They were like, my I've got my children with me, it's a Saturday afternoon, like that's not okay, like it's not acceptable. And like, actually Dougie, actually, as soon as I got upset, he just marched over. He's very good at keeping level headed, and he was just like, there could be, he said to them, like, there could be a 12-year-old rape victim that's just walked past this. Like, what, like, how does that like make you feel, like, morally? You hear like pro-life, but pro-life of what? Just the unborn child, or, think of all these contexts that this exists in. And they were just like, well, we don't believe that that's, an excuse to abort a child, which is like, okay, that's fine, but to then vilify and shame and upset that 12-year-old girl, or whoever, from a woman who's in that situation to a woman who just made a choice about her body, it's like, where is this? What are you trying to achieve by this? So I just basically was like, come on, let's go, we're going to go march with them. Fire was in my belly, and the woman actually shouted after me, we're just showing you the science, to which I just ended up going, they're not even real images, you've not even got the sources on the images.
She's
Well, I was
on
just
about
like,
just showing you the science. Oh God, these people. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sorry that, that showed up at your march. I don't think we had anything like that in Leeds, or saw that, but I'm sure I wouldn't have been able to keep my mouth shut had I seen that as
and
well.
to be fair, like, I know, like, I'm a very patient, mindful person, but we all know that when we are acting from a place of emotion, like, it's just not a good place to be talking to people, which is why I kind of stayed away, because I was like, there's not going to be anything constructive here, because I'm in a really emotional position right now. So I thought, let's use this force for good, let's join the march, let's go. Which was actually quite nice then, because it felt like getting a warm hug from like a nice group of
Oh,
people.
yeah.
But the only other thing that we had was, which kind of just reinforces the point of why we need to do this, 4 or 5 on separate occasions, men shouting, shut up, shut the fuck up, shut up, girls, at people protesting.
Yeah. And the thing, when you told me that this happened, I was like, that just proves a point that a couple of guys by themselves feel that they can go up against hundreds of people protesting, knowing that their safety is not going to get called into question, right? As white men, they can stand there and shout and swear at hundreds and hundreds of people protesting against gender-based violence because they know they'll be okay, because they're the perpetrators. It's like the irony of it is just like, ugh. Like, do they not see like what they're doing?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that like for the first few, everyone just carried on with their chants, etc., and we all kind of just looked at each other and eye rolled, as if to say, like, you're literally just proving the point. And then it was like the last time it happened, which is right by the end of the route, and this girl in front of me just lost her shit, and she was just like, the reason we're doing this is because of men like you, and then the whole crowd just started cheering. And it was like,
Yeah, yeah, literally, they are probably the ones that it is absolutely aimed at, and they know it. Otherwise, they wouldn't stand there being like,
yeah.
But to be fair, like you said, if Merseyside is the, did you say the worst county for domestic or gender-based violence, then I'm honestly not surprised I'm surprised there wasn't more protesters on the other side then, to be fair. But just the fact that there was any is just awful.
Yeah, and when it is so peaceful as well, and it is like, it wasn't aggressive, it was loads of pink signs, like, and like you said, we had like drummers there as well, and just like people just chanting. There was nothing aggressive about it. It's like, to just meet it with aggression, like, what has angered you so much about women saying, hey, we're bringing some light to the fact that we want equal rights and we want to reduce violence against women? Like, why does that anger you so much? It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think there's definitely going to be more, especially with how things are looking now with Trump in. There'll definitely
Yeah.
be more marches and more opportunities to march. And it was nice just to be surrounded by a lot of other people, all kind of feeling the same anger and feeling the same way. And it does just kind of like build you up a little bit. You're like, okay, I'm not just in an empty void out here. There are other people in this too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it can feel like that sometimes. I think like you're like, gosh, am I the only person that like feels like this? And this is, I think, again, where this was born from, this whole podcast, right? Because when we started talking about it, it was like, yes, yeah, exactly. And it's not, we're not on our own here. So this is what women do need, because we know that like things like violence against women, it exists within like shame and secrecy and feeling like you're alone. And that's how people in those situations that are maybe being abused or feel like they can't turn anywhere, they don't feel like they're going to be listened to, they don't feel like there's a community. So this is why these marches have been like, hey, there's people that get it, there's people that understand, that feel the same, you are listened to, are so important, because women need to see like, yeah, people know what I am going through, or people will listen to me. So even just creating these kind of communities and discussions is so important.
Yeah, now more than ever, especially like gender-based violence is at its all-time worst. It's now being called terrorism. It probably should always have been called terrorism, to be fair. And it is. I think it's probably only going to get worse now, especially in the US, and whatever comes off the back of that. So yeah, now more than ever, we have to rally together. And we have to keep talking about it. And I've said on my stories, I'm trying to keep all of this stuff out of my, fitness, coaching, social media and stuff, to try and keep it separate. But it's really, really difficult when the two intertwine. Like, as women's rights decline, women's health declines, and the two just intertwine massively. So it's so hard to keep it separate. And I said this, and then I've had a few people since then like, no, keep sharing, keep talking about it. Like, I'm here with you. I want to hear it. I want to understand it, want to see it. So I'm like, if a few people stop listening, don't want to watch, don't want to follow, they're like, I just want to lose body fat, fine. Fine, there's plenty of accounts that will just talk about that, but I can't hold it in anymore. I'm literally bursting.
And it is, and I agree in terms of like our line of work, like definitely I've seen like working with women kind of in my niche specifically around body image and food relationships, like it all comes back to, okay, why do you feel like you're only worthy when you're smaller? Like all these things we attach, like so much of it comes back to these ingrained beliefs we have, patriarchy, media, like it is literally the same one and the same thing. So naturally I end up having these discussions with clients anyway when they start working on their relationship with food and body image, because the root is always somewhere in these things that we talk about. And like you say, it's relevant to wider health anyway. So it is hard to like find that line, because, and also sometimes when people start doing the work, it's like they don't realize it's going to end up there. So you don't want to kind of like lay it on too much, because it naturally kind of has to take its own route there. It is really, really hard. And I think, the flip side of that is, I've definitely seen a bit of a dip in my engagement. I actually lost about 50 followers when I started posting more feminist content. So like it's one of those where you've kind of got to go, if you just shut up about it, so it's like, also it doesn't affect my business, like that's just part of the problem. Like that is the problem. The issue is that so many people are doing that. People are just in a capitalism chokehold and are like, I'm just not going to talk about it because it might negatively impact this. Like that is the issue, and I can't be part of that issue. So there's
Yeah.
kind of that decision you have to make where it's like, yeah, like that's fine, but if anybody, I'm not losing anything anyway, because if anybody was going to come and work with me who was offended by me standing up for women's rights, like they're not my type of person anyway. So like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Well,
fine.
it is our business now, like we've got this
Yeah.
podcast, and we both are looking more into this kind of work and these kind of platforms and the conversations that we're having. Like we are kind of treading this weird line from like fitness realm and human rights realm, and just kind of weirdly blending the two. But they are massively intertwined, and we're just kind of bridging that gap between like women's rights and women's health.
Yeah.
So it is our business. It's just like finding that those people that are ready to hear and see it, I suppose, because a lot of people are like, I just want to know how many vegetables I should eat a day, or
Yeah.
like, should I be running or lifting weights? Like that is absolutely fine. They're not ready to be like, oh, misogyny and misdiagnosing in healthcare and whatever else. But that's what we're going to talk about. So it's one of those like you kind of want to be here or you don't, and that's okay. I'm all right with losing followers if that's me being able to talk about what I want to talk about.
Yeah, and I saw a really good, when you see things and you're like, oh, I was meant to see that. I saw a really good quote that I actually reused in a piece of content this week, and it was like, anything you lose by standing up for what you believe in isn't a loss, it's an alignment.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. So the reason we've jumped on a podcast probably a week earlier than what we had intended is because so much has kicked off since Trump's inauguration. The plan was to chat about things on Friday, but it's Tuesday, and we're like, no, we've got to do a podcast and we've got to get, explain what's going on. Starting with the pre-party, the inauguration was yesterday, Monday, the 20th of January, my brother's birthday, Martin Luther King Day. But the pre-party was on Sunday night, and I know you were watching it because I was finishing. I don't know what I was doing. I think it was at a family meal, and I came back to my phone and was like, "Oh my God, what is happening? What have I missed?" And it was an absolute shit show. So if you want to share your kind of bullet points, highlights, takeaways from the pre-party, go for it.
yeah. I mean, I've just scrolled up our conversation and it's hilarious because it is literally like, and now this is happening, and now this is happening. Lauren, this has just happened. Like, it was just one thing. Like I thought, oh gosh, that's just happened. I need to tell her about it, but it just kept coming again and again and again, and it was just one thing after another. Dougie and I were sitting there with our hands over our mouths, like, what is going on? And I'd had a glass of wine as well, so that kind of, I was in that headspace of like, the fuck. So the thing that kicked it off first for me was they had a Fox News presenter called Megyn Kelly. I have heard
when I
of her
hear that
before.
name, my heart drops.
I've heard of her before. Obviously, haven't listened to a lot of her stuff because she's not our vibe. But I know her as, she's not a girl's girl. Let's put it that way. And the things that she was saying. So I actually went and got the transcript for her.
Yeah, I've also written down some notes from her. So I forgot about her existence. I had heard of Megyn Kelly a long time ago, and it's just one of those like, well, you're completely not on the same level as me, so I'm just not going to pay attention to you, and forgot about her
Yeah.
existence until the inauguration. I was like, right, let me get back into her socials. The first video I clicked on, random video, was her basically, well, literally saying, I speak for all women of LA when I say, if I'm in a burning building, I don't want to be saved by a fat lesbian. I want a nice, strong man to come in and rescue me. And she's got over 1 million followers. She's speaking at Trump's inauguration party. She's like one of his cronies. And I was just like, oh, God.
And it's that whole thing of like, again, we're coming, and it all relates into then the rights thing, because as we're going to go on to, like, them pulling out of DI initiatives, that it's this rhetoric of like, women can't, or like, why does it matter if it, like, what sexual orientation the person is if they're rescuing you from a fucking burning building? Like, what, that is not relevant. Like, so what she's saying is women are incapable and lesbians are incapable. Is that that's effectively what she's saying? Because
whilst also simultaneously fat shaming.
yeah,
like, she's managing to just do the whole trifecta here. She's just like, pow, pow, pow.
and it's like, what? Because it's kind of like, we know that's in relation to the chief of the fire department in LA, who is a lesbian woman, who is also hugely overqualified for her role with 2 decades of experience. Like, she isn't there because she's female or because she's a lesbian. She's there because she's good at her job, and it's exactly this. It's the fucking annoying thing. And again, we don't judge anybody based on their body, as we know. But we know that there's a lot of men that would be incapable of rescuing people from buildings if we're going to be talking about the health of somebody. And I know there's a lot of really fucking strong women that would be more capable than those men. So we know it's not a gender thing. It's a kind of like, are you physically capable to do that part of the role? That's not gender based. That is, I know, like, literally, like, I could name you like 4 or 5 female firefighters that I know. Like, it's just ridiculous. And so obviously that's the kind of rhetoric we're going with here. She basically used her speech to tear down other women. And that's what got me, was that she could have been saying something productive, but she used the first half of her speech to just pick out loads of liberal women and tear them down. And coming from another woman is just like, why? Like, how? Why is that helpful? You know, she referred to J-Lo because J-Lo came out and obviously supporting the Democrats. You know, how do you feel that your candidate lost? The only thing that JLo knows how to do is ruin marriages. She's an expert at that. So she will try and ruin the country too. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a leap, but also why are we throwing her under the bus for her personal life? She had a dig at Meryl Streep, who speaks very eloquently about so much that happens in society. Not that, yeah, she's a Hollywood actress, but then saying, you know, why are we listening to these Hollywood actresses? Well, why are we listening to a billionaire? Like, what, the hypocrisy of what you're saying is wild, you know?
Yeah, she just basically spent the whole time just slating women. The reason she ended up bringing up J-Lo was because she actually compared her skin to J-Lo and then quickly was like, oh, retract and be like, I've now got to tear J-Lo down because I've just accidentally complimented on her skincare, and then just like tore her down along with Oprah and Meryl Streep and the rest of them. And
The
she also
the
then went
Oprah
to say
one,
about how girls can't become boys and boys can't become girls, and how we need to stop talking about race and being white, and this whole DEI thing is all wrapped up in that. And the thing is, what people think is going on with these programs is they think that people are only being hired to tick a box. They think, well, based off what people like Trump are saying, is they're not being based off competency, they're being based off, are they black? Are they disabled? Are they gay? Are they ticking a box for us? Doesn't matter whether they can do the job or not, we're just going to tick a box. That's what they think these programs are doing, and it's so wrong. But that's the narrative that they've taken to help get support for ending these programs, which are actually in place to help protect a lot of people. Not just putting people in positions just because they tick a box, but making sure that there is fair hiring, but also protecting those people in work when they're there.
yeah.
Removing these programs just allows for discrimination in the workplace to come back.
Yeah, and we start to see that anyway with the obviously the rhetorics and things that are said and are now going to be allowed to be said, even from the rally to the inauguration, all of that stuff. Even when she mentioned Oprah, she said she started mocking her voice and then said, why are you doing that? Calm down, madam, which has got a racial undertone anyway of like the angry black woman. So it's
Yep.
like, if we're going to remove this kind of low-key racism, which is what they're trying to do, it's like that just makes it okay to say things with like racist undertones. Like you can already see it peppered in. Like that's not okay. Like we can't be doing that. And it's almost there a denial that this even exists. Like it's insanity. And like you say, nobody is being hired through a DEI program because they're literally incapable. They tick a box. They're being hired. It's so people cannot be discriminated against. Like you say, it's so people cannot go, oh, actually she's female, so she mightn't be good at the job. That's why DEI programs exist. So it's like, it's when they're saying we're going to replace it with a merit-based system, like the DEI is also is more merit-based, because guess what? You don't get, with all due respect, some absolute buffoon rich white man going into a position because he's a rich white man and it fits the box, when there might be a younger black female who is much more capable but isn't being hired because of her race or gender.
Yeah, but what gets me is that these elites, white, rich people are the ones that are saying, let's stop talking about race. We need to stop talking about race. And it's like, because you are unbelievably blind to your privilege,
Yeah.
or it's absolutely insane that this is even possible that he can even do this, and it is just the very start of a very slippery slope for America workplace and what's
Yeah.
safe and what's not safe for people. I said to Becky, like, I had planned to join the US Air Force when I was out there, and I'm like, would I even be safe there now? Because you said, I didn't get to see the video, but you said that they then showed a video just like mocking Pride or something.
Yeah, there was a lot of like propaganda based videos he used. So by the time he made it to the stage, like after Megyn Kelly had spoken, and also after they'd had these girls called like Girls with God or something, who just were like, just got like nearly crying and like, just God bless Donald Trump, and then led a prayer together, which, by the way, America's not a theocracy. So
Yeah.
like what like, that shouldn't be there. Like we shouldn't be doing this with church and state. That they're not a theocracy.
I
Um,
picked up on that with Megyn Kelly as well. She kept saying, like, sending prayers and prayer for Donald, praying for Donald. And I'm like, why is there so much religious talk at this political
yeah,
debate? Like, just the
but
assumption is, oh, all Americans are praying and all Americans are religious, and they shouldn't be doing that.
guess who didn't put his hand on the Bible when he swore himself when he got sworn in?
I did hear that.
So,
Yeah.
is it, tactics? But back to the videos, like there was a lot of propaganda-based videos that he was using by the time he got to the stage. So when he talked about immigrants, he then played this like really inflammatory video of like a handful of people of a certain colour doing really aggressive things. Like that equally, like there's a video you could make of white people doing that. Like it's just ridiculous. And then yeah, when it got to the point of him obviously everyone chanting and hollering about how they're going to remove DEI. We're going to remove wokeness from our schools and the military. What he means by that is any discussion of LGBTQ, like trans females, basically, and have anybody in that kind of group having equal rights. Because then the video that followed that is like, right, take a look at this after he makes this statement. And it was a video that was like sliced, like stitched together. So it kept flipping between like really kind of Uncle Sam based big burly white men in a line doing press ups. Then it'd like go fuzzy and stitch to like the head of the military being like, right, happy Pride Month, guys. We're really happy, we're really proud to be really inclusive at the military and offer, and then everyone was laughing at it. It was like a kind of like, oh, this is what we've got and this is what we should be. It existed solely to demean that part of the population. Then it had flipped that back to like the Uncle Sam kind of military, and then it had flipped to like someone's like a trans member of the military in their uniform, then doing like a hair flip, and then they're in drag, being like, like you can be both.
I just don't
Again,
understand how it can even be allowed. How was this even created and allowed to be shown at a presidential inauguration like party?
yeah,
It,
just to
it,
demean them, like it was
yeah,
horrendous.
it's literally just harassment and bullying, like in front of millions of people's eyes, basically saying, like mocking trans people and
Yeah.
gay people and the queer community. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if I was in the military now, would I just be kicked out? Would I be harassed out? Like, where would I sit there now? And that if I was a parent in America now, like if I had a trans child or a gay child, I do not know how I would feel about sending them into school, because openly bullying and abusing this community is now okay.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has paved the way for it to be okay, and actually probably for people to go out of their way to make sure that that entire community is just eradicated from existence.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. It's kind of like, what made me really sad about it is that it's like those people who have naturally had probably more of a struggle to get into those positions, for, as we know, like, who are there like, I am fighting for my country, I'm a proud American, I'm going to defend my country, who are there risking their lives to defend those people at that rally, are being mocked. Like, that's the really sad thing about it. And imagine being so proud of your country that you're going into the military, and being so proud to be American, to then be told you don't belong here, like you are not a real American. It's just vile. And like, yeah, it is like that erasing of people from society. And Megyn Kelly even reinforced that. She said, for so long wearing a MAGA hat's been a sign of being inflammatory. It is. And she said something like, you've all probably had your own kind of little wins in your communities. And then from this point forward, every time you refuse to use someone's pronouns, every time that you push back against wokeism, like that is a win for America. She was basically just saying that harassing these minority groups and all of this is now patriotism. Like, it should be illegal, let alone patriotism. Like,
Yeah, so the kicking them out the workforce, telling people to harass them essentially, just it. I do honestly, genuinely fear for these people's lives and what's going to happen
Yeah.
what's going to happen to them at work? How are they going to make a living? How are they going to have, what if this then impacts them being able to get insurance, health insurance? Because over in America, they have to have health insurance. And if
Yeah.
Donald Trump now decides anybody who has transitioned now can't have any health insurance, then they have no health care because
Yeah.
it's extortionate to, it's so expensive over there. Even with health insurance, you still have to pay some. I ended up in hospital for a spider bite, was completely covered, and I still had to pay a couple $100 just to get some medication so I didn't
Yeah.
die from spider poisoning.
Well,
But
even that with
in a
medication.
pay for it, but so many people can't over there.
Yeah, exactly. And like that, even that with medication though, like remember that everybody who's transitioned takes regular medication, like hormonal medication.
That's
It's the
going to get
access to
old.
that's not going to be covered in healthcare anymore. It's life changing for so many people. And I think as well, to go in with this is like the first thing. It's like, as we've said, like, it's so important that everybody feels so that they can be a part of like their community, right? That they're accepted. But trans people only make up a very, very tiny portion of the population. So to be platforming this as like the main issue, quote unquote, in America, it's like it's so divisive. They are just weaponizing them massively to avoid actually looking at any of the actual problems. Like it affects, like if we think about, say, I don't know what the exact figures are, I think we'd spoken about it,
I
but like
think it's
let's
1%.
say 1% of the population, right? Then if we look at within that, how many people are actually not trans but are doing it for like aggressive agenda, right? Which is what they're saying that everybody is doing, going into changing rooms and harming women, right? It's that microscopic. It wouldn't even affect statistics, like it's that sort of small. And I just think I just find it mind blowing, absolutely
Because
mind blowing.
his entire campaign has been about rallying people together to hate on specific people. Like, bring people together and get them angry, get them pissed off, get them scared, and they will rally together and they will support you. And he has done that against immigrants and trans people.
Yeah,
That's what he's done, and so he's got to keep playing that out. The way that their media is over there is they make it out that trans people are like going into schools and messing with their children's heads and trying to turn all children gay, and they're trying to tell children they're all trans, and it's damaging and it's against God's way, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's like, I bet none of you have ever even met a trans person,
no,
and if you had, you
no.
might not even know. Like,
And
and if you had, they would have done no harm.
no, and that's the exact irony of it. Is exactly like you said. Like we say this to people. Actually, we've said it to a couple of people. Dougie and I have been like, okay, cool. How many people have you met that are trans? And they're like, like they can't answer the question. And it's just ironic. Like, and again, the hypocrisy when they say things like, I've seen women replying on like women's organization posts about like, abortion rights over in America, which obviously have already been rolled back in a lot of states. Being like, well, what rights have women lost? My daughters have gained today because now they're not going to be able to be abused in changing rooms by biological men. And it's like, hold on a minute. Do you know who's a biological man that is openly admitted in an interview that he used his role as being the organizer of Miss America to go backstage and look at the women getting changed? Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So let's all
But
just
again,
take
it's because
that
that's what's
context.
been told, that's what they're being told. They're being told, oh, all these quote unquote men pretending to be women going into bathrooms and causing harm to your daughters. It's like they've never seen it, they've never experienced it. They're just hearing that and going, oh, it must be true. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's just absolutely vile. And again, if we look at the actual statistics of like a number for how many like times that happens comparatively to when white, you know, citizen from birth Americans commit similar violence,
Mhm.
it wouldn't show that either. But again, the dangerous position we're now in is he's going to be in control of the statistics and the figures. So this is the scary part now moving forward.
Well, yeah, the scary thing is that suicide rates amongst the LGBTQ plus community and trans community are so high. Like suicide attempts and suicide rates are just so bad. Um, So now for them, if they do lose their health insurance, if they do lose their medication and their hormones, if they are losing their right in the workplace, they are going to be discriminated against, all of these things, it's like, it is scary to see, like, to know what could be coming, what's around the corner for them. And I really feel for them. I almost want to like send a boat over there and be like, oh, just get on and you can all move into my house. Like, it's awful.
Yeah, it's incredibly sad. And like you say, like that rhetoric just started at that rally the night before, which, by the way, before we move on to actually things that have changed already, or like, you know, policies that have been executed overnight, because, well, I woke up this morning and was like, it was like bullet, bullet, bullet reading the things. The way that the rally party thing ended was that he brought the village people out to sing the YMCA, right? Which is a world over known gay anthem, right? They came out prior to when the news broke that they were going to be singing at the party. They turned around and I can't remember what the exact quote was. I need to find it, but it was basically like, "We never said it was a gay anthem, and you all need to basically get back in your box." Like, that, do you think you ever thought that? The village people wouldn't have had a career if it wasn't for the LGBTQ community. So it's disgusting that it's like, oh, they rolled with it when they were making millions off the back of it, but then they've just thrown the community. They should be there like, hey, we wouldn't have been successful without that community, whether it was a gay anthem written to be a gay anthem or not. Like, the fact that they've taken from that community and then thrown them under the bus is just horrendous.
Yeah, and then the last point to make about the rally as well was Dana White getting up and
Oh
talking.
God.
Like, who are you? Who are you? And he said, Donald Trump is the best human being I have ever known, who genuinely cares about humans. Are you absolutely insane, man?
Dana White, who literally like abuses his wife, by the way. Like, there is literal videos of Dana White online decking his wife in public.
Yeah. And it's like, these are the people getting up and rallying people together. It was just, the whole thing was an absolute shit show. And then since, it's not gotten much better. And like you said, I woke up yesterday, or this morning, it's like ping, 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 like breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. And Donald Trump, he said, oh, it's going to happen quick, it's going to happen fast. They told me, slow down, do this over a matter of weeks. Nope, I'm doing it all overnight. And so I have got a list of bullet points that I am just going to reel off here of what has happened so far in the last 24 hours. And it's still covered, you know, it's 3:52 p.m. Tuesday, the 21st of January, and it's still, you know, every hour something else is coming out. So here we go. The withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement, withdrawing from World Health Organization, saying only two genders now exist, male and female. Musk delivers not one but two Nazi salutes. Federal employees return to work and now cannot work from home. The removal of government DEI programs. Ending the Green New Deal with a reminder to fill up oil reserves. Oh, there was a quote that he said about drilling. It was like,
oh, drill, baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill. Yeah, great. They're renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. He started firing immigrant judges to help his huge deportation plans, because apparently it's going to be the biggest deportation America has ever seen. Ending catch and release, which allows migrants to live in the US while they await their hearing and reinstate remain in Mexico policy. They've sealed the borders to reduce trafficking and smuggling of people and drugs. Resume building the border wall. Said he is renaming Denali to Mount McKinley. Said they are taking back the Panama Canal. He wants to put an astronaut on Mars, and he's pardoned 1,500 people that were arrested for the US Capitol riot. That has all happened in 24 hours.
It's absolutely wild. And you think about the effects of these things, like, you know, it might be like, oh yeah, he's actioning everything he said he did, which is what people will think. They'll be like, yeah, he's taking action, yeah. But think about consequence and fallout of every single one of those points, like even down to like obviously pulling out of the climate agreement. Like, okay, they are literally one of the biggest contributors to global warming. Like, so great, like that affects the whole world. So, and when we're saying like, again, if you haven't listened to it already, go and listen to our last episode of Why You Should Care. The global politics affects all of us. So these things like America pulling out of the climate agreement affects us because guess what? It's our planet as well, and they are one of the biggest contributors to what we're seeing, what science is seeing. In
Yeah,
terms
and
of
what they had said at the pre-party was they are going to be building these big AI sort of power stations. He's claiming they're going to have the cheapest electricity and the cheapest energy in the world, but at what cost? Literally the Earth, literally the
yeah,
rest of the planet has to suffer so they can build their rocket ships and their AI stations and all of this. So that's why they've pulled out, so that they can basically get through all of the environmental policies that were put in place to protect the Earth. They've gone, nope, ain't doing that. Just so they can just steamroll right ahead and do whatever they want. I don't even know how this is allowed. Why has the UN not got things in place where it's like, if you contribute so much to the world's, climate change or this and that, you have to be doing something.
yeah, no, I know. It's absolutely insane. And I just think like I don't know at what point, because the thing is, Keir Starmer's back then goes against the wall because we were talking about this as to like affecting us. We're now not in the EU, right? And America's our closest ally. So Keir Starmer is over a barrel here in terms of like, and this is what Trump wants. He wants to be like, okay, if you don't do this, we will tax you into infinity. Like you have no other choice, effectively. So it's almost like the likes of Keir Starmer are going to be here and go, okay, we either do what he says, which guess what's probably going to negatively impact our economy, or we lose a fuck ton of national security. And it's like, it's kind of, we're in this like really shit situation as a country now because we are quite reliant on America, where so many of the decisions that are made here are going to be like based on the pressure that America is putting on us. And it's just, yeah, it's a little bit scary.
It's massively scary. It's majorly scary. And like you say, Keir Starmer is like, well, what could he do? And nothing he does is going to be everybody's right decision and favourite decision. So all that's going to happen is the worse we get impacted, people will blame him, then they blame the Labour Party. Reform comes swooping on in, going, we can make all these deals with Donald Trump that are going to be so good for the UK economy, and everyone go, yay, Farage saving the day. So like, there's no, like, I'm struggling to see a positive way forwards with this.
Yeah.
And then also withdrawing from the World Health Organization. I'm like, didn't see that one coming. What? I didn't even know you could do that. Why?
No. And like, again, what? Because they're going to be like, oh, American food standards are awful anyway compared to our food standards, but it's like, so take more from the World Health Organization and action it then. Like that's why, because they don't their standards aren't in line with a lot of the rest of the world anyway. But it's like, again, since like COVID and like times prior to that, America has always positioned the World Health Organization as something to like be unreliable and that we shouldn't be listening to and we should be questioning. And it's kind of like, oh, guys, like your food standards have been awash for decades, like, and to be like it's the World Health Organization that's put us here is just like outrageous. So like, what? There's going to be no kind of actual research for them around like anything health related, anything food related, anything like, again, petrifying.
I just don't know what it even means yet. Like that one really threw me. I was like, So it'd be interesting to see what happens off the back of that. Um, Basically, what it looks like is just the United States is just completely severing ties left, right, and centre with anything to do with sort of the UN or any other countries. They're just like hacking away at everything, and then anything that they want, they're just going to buy out or potentially use military force to gain. They're just going to bully people into giving them what they want until they get what they want, like
Yeah.
Greenland or the Panama Canal or I don't know. I even saw a bit of people asking him like, what does he think about Gaza? And he was saying how it's an interesting, sunny, warm bit of land right on the sea. A lot of beautiful things could be done there. And I was like, this that he feels it feels unstoppable, and
Yeah.
like that's why he got voted in, because people were like, yes, what a force to be reckoned with, he's unstoppable. Yeah, for all the worst possible things known to mankind. It's
Yeah.
only a good thing if somebody's unstoppable in positive action, not demolishing humans.
And that's the thing now. Oh, the scary thing is he does have that unlimited pot of money because the like what five wealthiest billionaires in the world are literally his best friends. And we're actually on the front row at the inauguration in front of his actual cabinet, like ahead of his actual cabinet. You had like Bezos, Musk, head of Google, like all of these people. And the petrifying thing about that though is that it's not just that they're billionaires, which is petrifying anyway, because he does have this unlimited pot of money now to just wade in over the world. They aren't just billionaires because they own Walmart or because they own like some other business. They own the main communication channels in the world. So when we're talking about kind of global affairs, why does it affect us? Because now you have this thing of basically anybody from probably even not our parents' generation. My parents now look at TikTok and Facebook and everything to get news rather than going and reading a paper. Not that the print press is holy and great anyway, but they now own America effectively, and the
Yeah.
government own Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. It's just a shit show for being fed misinformation, for shadow banning things that challenge that misinformation, for shaping people's like mindset. It's petrifying, and that affects us because we use those platforms.
Yeah, exactly. Them owning social media and what people see and what people think and what people believe will affect how people vote in the UK. And they're backing Farage, they're backing reform because they want these extremist views to, they basically want to take over the world.
Yeah.
That's the
And it's,
plan. And
it's the
then,
little things that scare me of like, well, it's not a little thing, it's a really big thing of like, when we are, putting out feminist content, when we're trying to like, people are organising marches, we're getting communities together, we are sharing more information about like statistics. Like it's the potential of all of that to be shadow banned. It's the potential of like, not getting messages out there. And it absolutely just puts the fear into me, and like how easy it is to like radicalize young boys with like really really fascist content. Like we know from like evidence that when women feel challenged or oppressed, they turn to community, but when men often feel challenged or like they're being oppressed or like they're being pushed back against, they turn more towards right-wing politics and fascism. So it's such a climate now where the gender divide is so wide that we're just getting so many of the next generation of like young boys that are on TikTok, that are on Instagram, that are now just going to be so susceptible to this fascism, and again, coming back to like the DEI on Facebook, which we discussed in the last episode, that it's now not going to be a reportable offence on Facebook to call a woman a household object. Like it's, and we might think that that's nothing, but when we look at again the pyramid of violence, this is the flames. This is where it starts. Is
yeah.
in grassroots rhetorics.
And circling back to the work that we do as coaches with women and their health and how they feel about themselves, it's that sexual objectification of women and objectifying women massively plays a role in the reason why women feel so shit about themselves and feel the need to be in smaller bodies and they feel the need to diet, because it's all for the male gaze, which is all to do with objectification of women, which is then this household object calling and name calling, and now he's pardoned those 1,500 people from the Capitol, when they stormed the Capitol and they
Right.
wear all those masks and everything.
Yeah.
He's basically saying this kind of behaviour is okay. This kind of violence, aggression, abuse of people, bullying, harassment, calling names, making horrible videos and sharing it, like all the horrible people in the dark web and that underworld of the internet has basically just, the lid has been lifted off and they're all coming out.
It's really, really scary. And even that is like, you know, as an American president, that duty to protect the liberty and justice for all, which he's completely just gone against within his first 24 hours anyway, but protecting the Constitution, like the the Constitution is like you protect the peaceful transfer of power and all of that stuff like that. The riot in the Capitol building, when he didn't go to Joe Biden's inauguration and he wouldn't pass the power peacefully, and that happened, was a direct violation of the American Constitution. So then say that that's okay, it's like, well, what are we doing here? Like, where's the line? Because you've completely overstepped what America stands for, like in terms of what they swear allegiance to. So
Oh yeah, there's no lines now. There's no lines. There was, I think I said on the episode we did about Trump before, where it was like people are just like not sure what to do with him because like this is like unprecedented times.
yeah,
We've never had a president or a person attempt to be president with this many like illegal sanctions against him, this many problems and issues, this like his thoughts, his ideas, what he wants from America and the world. It's like we've not seen this before and we don't know how to handle it. I think the world doesn't know how to handle him.
no. And people will say things like, oh, well, wars don't tend to be started when Trump's in. And it's like, yeah, because he's completely unstable. That's not a good thing. And like, again, when he's saying about like, oh, we're gonna end the war in Russia and Ukraine, letting Putin have Ukraine is not is not a leadership and thing to be celebrated. It's not an effective way to end that war, giving in to dictators. Like, it's just it's absolutely wild, and it is just like very, very unstable, like what's going to happen next. But it's like paying attention to, like you say, who's around him and the faces that are there. Again, when we're coming back to how this affects us in this country, and you said about obviously reform going to be swooping in, and look at my best buddy Trump, and all of that jazz. A couple of people that are actually there at that inauguration: Suella Braverman, of course, Farage, Liz Truss, Boris. They were all there. So pay attention to the British politicians that are backing this, that are basically saying that this is okay, because they're the ones that are going to be trying to inject that into our politics when they come back. And yeah, exactly. In terms of, I think you shared it as well, like the picture of Nigel Farage posing with Conor McGregor, who we know, who's a rapist. Like,
I just think
what?
like politics aside, everything else aside, if there was an opportunity for me to meet with Conor McGregor, you you wouldn't, oh my God, I wouldn't want to see or speak to the man or go near him. If I had to, I know I'd give him a piece of my mind about everything that he's done. I wouldn't stand and pose for a happy chappy photo with him. And this is like someone at the top of British politics taking a picture with this guy, like, hey, buddies. It's like watching the British politicians over there is like when I moved to America and started partying with all the American college lot and was like, hey, America, cool, college parties, I'm having the time of my life. It's like they go over there and they're like, this is awesome, big houses and massive parties, and look at the size of the rally. And it's like they've got these rose-tinted glasses on for America and Trump and how life could be over there. And they want to bring that over in England, and it's like, no, hun, you're getting carried away with the glitz and the glam, and you're kind of missing the fact that these people are a bunch of racist, ball bag bigots.
And it's the flip side of that when we look at our politics of like Nigel Farage standing there at the inauguration of Donald Trump, posing with Conor McGregor, who's been done for rape. And yet, when they were discussing violence and sexual violence against women in our House of Commons a couple of weeks ago, the House was empty. The reform benches were empty. He was not present there. And they were also discussing the fact that there's a reform MP who has been done for violence against his wife. Like he is a woman beater, and obviously, like the Labour politicians were discussing how that he shouldn't be in the chambers, like he shouldn't be a member of Parliament. Like this is so like it's already here, you know what I mean? And if that relationship strengthens, and particularly with this divide over here of like weaponization as well, and people thinking reform is the answer, it's where we're going to get that fusion then of just following suit for all these things that are going on in America.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's been a lot. This whole last week has just felt like, oh my God, is this even real? Is this actually happening? And more is going to come out over the next like few days and weeks, and we'll try and keep on top of it with our posts, and we'll jump on podcasts and things like that. But I think like the important the important thing is to stay like educated and in the know on what's happening, but also like we've got to take a breather and go for a walk in some fresh air because it is a lot. And when you start really thinking about all of this and the implications and what this could mean, it does get scary. And so it is important to offload to other people. Like we have each other to talk to about it, and it's important that we do have these conversations and we do share the knowledge, but also like have each other's backs with it and offload to each other and go walking, because it can feel a lot, and you want to learn and understand, but you don't want it to crush you.
Yeah, 100%. And it is that fine line of like burying your head and being like, oh, I'm just not going to look at it isn't helpful, because then you're only doing yourself a disservice by not staying educated about what's going on. But yeah, you've got to, like anything, right? You've got to be self-aware of when you're getting in your own head too much and pull yourself back out, for sure. So like hopefully with these kind of episodes, it kind of keeps you kind of, here it is, informed, pay attention, catch up, and then go and carry on with your kind of day-to-day life. And even just thinking about those like we say, little micro discussions we can have, but just not letting yourself get too lost in your own mind, because it is a lot. And yeah, it is important to kind of take care of your mental health with it as well.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to cover? Have we covered everything?
No, but I don't know if you saw, did you see Obama and Bush when they acknowledged each other?
I didn't see that, but I saw Bernie Sanders sat there, like with arms crossed, did not want to be there. I was like, you are my spirit animal.
Obama, when he sat down, I love Obama. Like, and again, just to like go back to when we talk about like leadership, we were looking at, this is a bit of a side note, but we were looking at the immigration stats. It was actually during the rally, I think. We paused it because he put a chart up about like, this is when Biden came in, and then it soared as if to say, this is really bad and Biden let everybody in and all this rhetoric. But if you look at the timeline, immigration was so stable under Obama. Like, it was literally just like this. And then it was when Trump came in his first presidency, it just started doing this. Yeah, it fell, but then it skyrocketed and then it fell again. And that is a direct reflection of the type of president that he is completely unstable. Whereas that Obama presidency, and a lot of people kind of, I don't know about like your friends, but in America spoke about like when Obama was it, and even if they didn't agree with all his policies, there was stability. It was like there was peace and stability. And yeah, when I see his face, I'm just like, I love that Michelle Obama refused to go to the inauguration because she's a fucking legend. But,
I know, I love them.
But he sat down and he was like, hello, hello, hello. And then he turned to Bush, he's a Republican, right? And went, how do we stop this from happening? And Bush just literally just like laughed and kind of shook his head. Because it's like, even Republicans, a lot of Republicans don't identify with MAGA. It's like our reform. Like, it's a separate thing.
It's a complete extremist view. It's completely so far right. Like, I think some conservatives have said similarly, like, there's conservative and then there's Trump. You know,
Yeah.
like, he is just literally a racist, fascist, sexist, homophobic rapist at the end of the day, who's managed to aggressively force his way into power, and now he's got all his rich buddies backing him.
Yeah. And girls, just a reminder, like, you'll hear this rhetoric and you'll have heard it at some point in your life that's probably put you off holding men to account for violent behaviour. You know, accusations can ruin men's life. Accusations and things can ruin men's careers. Like, look at the people that are now ruling America. Look at the people that are in the House of the Parliament. Like, never be afraid to speak out on something because someone's telling you that your words might have a consequence, like as if your life and voice is worth less than that. We know that's not, I mean, even if it was true, it doesn't fucking matter if you've been violated. But we also know that's not true, because guess what? The most powerful man in the world is a rapist and is surrounded by people who are known to beat their wives. Like, so yeah, just a reminder for you as well. And every time I see Obama or Kamala Harris, I'm like, I really hope you're just plotting something that we all don't know about.
Oh, I really hope so. What? But like, what? I just don't know. I just don't know. The thing is, like, anybody that would like violently take out that entire team of tossers, just don't exist. Don't exist. Anybody that would like use weapons or firearms or would murder are Trump supporters.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like,
Oh,
and not that we're advocating that, but that is just not in a liberal person's, like a normal person with morality, like would never do that. So it's like at this point, like we're just here in this situation.
yeah, yeah. Right, that is the latest. Actually, do you know while we've been talking, I bet something else has happened and come out.
I
Um,
just opened Instagram to check, but I feel like we're safe for now. Although I
real,
keep getting fucking suggested for you, President Vice President JD Vance. Like no, like no. And I've had literally like 10 different Tesla ads on TikTok in the last 48 hours. I've never had one before in my life. Like go away.
yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with social media now, with like them owning it. What are we going to see? Is it going to be noticeable? Like, I don't
Be
know.
interesting to
Just,
see.
yeah, if you're still listening, just make sure you are paying attention to your social media and tell other people like the truth of it. It's like, just because you see something doesn't make it true, doesn't make it right. They can feed you whatever they want to feed you. They can use AI to make up anything they want, videos, images, and like they'll just pass these stories off as true. And so we've got to keep our critical thinking caps on.
Yeah, just remember more than ever that the algorithm is not, or I'm actually going to write a piece about this. The algorithm is not actually for you. So just remember that, like, we exist in a position where we are literally being fed information through social media. Just remind yourself of that when you're consuming. We talk about this with women in terms of their body image and all of that stuff. Yeah, awareness is really, really important.
Yeah, and just looking at the real world around you. So again, talking about women that we work with, a lot of times I've said like, look at the women in your life. Look at the women around you in supermarkets. Are they super thin, super jacked women that you're comparing yourself to online? No, that's not real life. It's like the 0.1% of the population, but that's because it's plastered there. It's what you see. So like when these Americans are being told all trans people are like abusing your children in bathrooms, like, are you seeing that? Like the world around you with you're physically seeing with your eyes is the truth.
Yeah. And it's the same with anything, right? Because how many times have you heard people say with like immigration, oh yeah, but all people of this skin color are bad. Oh, but not him, not the one that we know, or not the way. Yeah, it's never because they're not. Like it's
Yeah.
never the people you know. So that's your evidence. And the same thing with like just briefly before we wrap up, I told you about that kind of argument. Again, we don't go in the comments, but when we do, um, with that guy that was basically being like, this is like violence against women is a racial issue in the UK, as if it's only he was trying to say it was only Pakistani men that commit violence against women. So when I gave him the Home Office figures that it's like 88% is white men, of course they must have been forged, etc. But it's like, Nigel, I am a 32-year-old woman who has had this happen to me and have got friends who have had it happen to them, and they were all white men. So like, let's not, because like if you actually look at what's going on around you, like that will tell you a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Look at the world around you and what you know and what you see and what your friends see and your experiences and believe that over what you're being fed and then trying to like understand it and be like, oh, well, maybe that's right. No, it's not.
And breathe.
And agree. Right. Thank you so much for listening, guys. If you've got any questions or just want to chat, drop us a message and we'll happily chat.
Yes, have a good one, guys, and I hope you learned something today. And yeah, get your head out of your phone and go for a walk.
Yeah, definitely. Bye.
Right.